Hi guys, Phil from AquaTech here. Today I'm going to run through the correct way to set up your sport housing and your lens port, and hopefully give you some tips which will get you in the water before no time. First off, what I'd like to do is grab a brand new housing out of the box and lens port. Today we've got the Elite Sport housing and a standard flat port. So the first thing you're going to want to do once you get your equipment out of the box is check that the two main O-rings are in place. You have your main back O-ring, which is on the rear of the sport housing, and you have your front O-ring, which is where the lens port attaches to the housing. Then you want to grab your back plate, position that over the rear of the sport housing, engage the clips, and lock into place. Now it's a good idea to test that these are locked down simply by going around and applying some pressure to the clips. That way, if they're not locked down, you'll notice it straight away. Now it's time to put on your lens port. You'll see that there's a thread on the bottom of the lens port which will enable it to join onto the sport housing. Simply get it in place. The port should spin freely and easily. Once it touches that O-ring, really tighten it down. There's no problem here with over tightening. We normally suggest that you use two hands, really crank it down nice and tight. Now that the housing's intact, you've got your rear seal and the lens port on, it's time to jump in the water and test it before you have your camera and lens in the housing. With your sport housing, simply place it under the water in either a pool, a bucket, or even the bathtub full of water. We suggest that you hold this under for at least 10 seconds, bring it up, check that the seal is nice and tight and no water has entered the housing. We recommend that you perform this at least 2 to 3 times initially to feel comfortable not only with the equipment but in the process of assembling the sport housing. Now that you've performed the initial water test, we'll show you the correct way to disassemble the equipment. Dry the water housing with a nice clean towel. Then when removing the lens port, simply disengage the thread, tilt the housing in a downward manner. This will stop any foreign matter like water or sand which may be trapped in the thread from running back in on your lens. Once that's off, you can then disengage the back clips and you're ready to load it with your camera. Now that you've performed your initial water test, it's time to install the camera inside the sport housing. Today I'll be installing the 1DX inside the Delphin 1D sport housing. First step is to remove your camera plate. The camera plate is located inside the camera mount, which sits at the bottom of your sport housing. Now the camera plate attaches to the tripod mount on the bottom of all digital SLRs. The camera plate positions the camera in the housing where it needs to go and stops it from moving around so the controls line up. Make sure that this plate is done up nice and tight. It's also very handy to carry a small flathead screwdriver in your toolkit. This will enable you to attach and remove the camera plate when needed. To install the camera, it's very simple. Simply slide into the rails on the back of the sport housing. The camera should sit nice and flush. There's no locking mechanism. It will just push in as far as it needs to go. Then, again, you position your back plate over the back of the camera. Engage the 4 clips. Lock these down into place. Test the clips, make sure that they're nice and firm and locked into position. Grab the lens port, make sure that the O-ring is nice and clean and there's nothing protruding out of the housing. Spin this into place. Once that stops, really crank it down. Suggest using 2 hands if possible. Lock that in and away you go. So there you have it guys, it's that easy. If you do have any other questions, feel free to contact us via the website. We're always here to help and we hope that this information has helped you on your way to shooting in the water.